Hello, everyone. I'm beginning to recognize your faces. Welcome. I would now like to call the April 30th, 2024 Longmont City Council Study Session to order. You can view this meeting. It's going to be live streamed at the city's YouTube channel, also at longmontpublicmedia.org/watch, or on Comcast channels 8 or 880. Could we start with the roll call, please?
Absolutely. Mayor Peck.
Present.
Councilmember Christ.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hidalgo-Ferring.
Here.
Councilmember Martin.
Here.
Councilmember McCoy. Councilmember Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilmember Yarbrough.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum?
Thank you. Let's stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anyone wishing to speak at first call, public invited to be heard, will need to add his or her name to the list outside the council chambers. Only those on the list will be invited to speak at the first call, public invited to be heard, and each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. We would like your name and address. Do we have any, do we have any direction from council to direct city staff to add items to a future agenda? Councilmember Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. Yes, I had the city clerk send to all the other council members the draft of a resolution that was given to me by a group of peace activists that we've been hearing from recently. And I would like to move that we put on our agenda for the next regular session some time to debate and consider that resolution to be passed by the Longmont City Council.
Is that next agenda?
Next regular session.
Do I have a second for that? Councilor McCoy.
This is not related to that. I'm not.
Okay, then let's wait. So, do I have a second? Seeing no second, that motion dies for the lack of a second. Councilor McCoy.
Thank you. I would like to ask city staff to bring back some information regarding rent control on apartment complexes 18 units or greater. I'd like to have a kind of an idea of, whoops, I got this right in front of my notes. Kind of an idea of what we really need in the community in regards to the upper limit of our high density. We have some folks that came to a meeting the other day at Coffee with Council, and they got me thinking that we probably need to have that conversation because they indicated that there were they had some sort of information indicating that there was a lot of apartments that are not being rented for some reason, and I'd like to have some sort of idea about why that is, and look at that. Is there a need for those larger units, or are we maxed out on that? Is my concern, and I just want to make sure that we look at that. And in the last 3 years, I ran in 2021, 2022, and 2023, and Boulder County organizations that deal with housing have had the issue around rent control as a item that they wanted opinions on, and I'd like to see if that's something that we need here in Longmont.
So I'm assuming that's a motion.
Sorry.
A long motion.
Sorry, folks. I was mainly trying to explain to you.
So the motion then is to have a discussion around rent control with
Yes.
some research done by staff.
Yes, please.
So do you want this on a study session?
That would be fine.
Okay, so your motion is, do you have a particular study session?
No, it can be sometime in July.
Okay, at council's discretion.
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion is to direct staff to put on a study session agenda, a discussion about rent control. Do we have a second? So I don't hear a second, and the motion dies for the lack of a second. However, this might be a good discussion to have at a pre-session with just council. Okay,
So we are bringing, there is a motion from the council to bring the inclusionary housing back and compare those two. And I think in terms of numbers, we can include that in
Oh,
that
thank you.
presentation. So
thank you.
we'll
That'll
do that
work.
together.
Okay. Counselor Christ.
Actually, that's exactly what I was going to suggest, was that we include it with inclusionary housing discussion.
Perfect. Seeing no one else in the queue to add items to future agendas, we are now at public invited to be heard. So remember, when I call your name, you have 3 minutes, and you can give your name and address, please. The first one on our list is Mary Goodman. Mary, can you turn on your microphone, please? There you go.
Oh, it's good to see you.
You can pull it down too if it's too high. Perfect.
What I want to talk about, our taxes are too high. And as far as our rental, you were just talking about that. A lot of us cannot afford rent on apartments.
So Mary, I think this is a good discussion, but can you give us your address, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. 7859 Diagonal Highway,
Thank you.
Longmont. But the other thing I want to talk about is we must ask ourselves how far we come with challenges in society. My question is, where are we heading with that? As 2030 is mentioned several times, as far back as 2014, there is an unclassified document that did state the whole U.S. intelligence put out a study called Global Trends called 2030. There is a description of 8 black swan scenarios that could alter the course of global civilization by or before 2030. Something like a geometric superstorm. Are we prepared for that? If not, go talk to your President Biden and his puppet master Obama. As for the peace talk for next week, please ask them where all these children are, where Hamas kidnapped every child, not just Jewish, but Palestine, Iranian, and every child in the nation. Ask them that. Ask them, stop killing Iranian children. It's not just the U.S. or Israel, it's in Iran. So why are we protesting on things that shouldn't be protested? If these students and people want to protest on things, go over there and see if they come back. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mary. Shaquille Dalal?
I'm sorry?
No, I just called Shaquille.
Shaquille Dalal, 219 Francis Street. Mayor and members of council, I'm here today with the books promised to you by Launch. As you know, Launch Longmont Housing recently kicked off our book club by reading Escaping the Housing Trap. It's written by Charles Marone and Daniel Harridges of the Strong Towns organization, a nationally known organization focusing on the long-term fiscal sustainability of American cities. Even if you missed our first meeting, that's okay. Our first meeting was just getting people the information that they needed to get the most out of reading the book. A recording is available on Longmont Public Media's YouTube channel. That meeting had a great presentation from the curator of history at the Longmont Museum about the development and history of Broomfield. Our second meeting is May 20th at 6:30 p.m. at Longmont Public Media, where we'll be discussing part 1 of the book. Part 1 is about the financialization of housing and explains how housing got so expensive in the first place. Members of the public can get a copy of the book from the Longmont Public Library or wherever books are sold. Members of council, I have a copy for you. I checked with our intrepid city clerk, who assured me that this does not count as a gift because the value of the book is less than $75. Also, Amendment 41 of the Colorado Constitution specifically says that books do not count as gifts. To sign up for the book club, go to launchlongmonthousing.org. People who sign up for the book club will get emails throughout the month with interesting information relevant to part 1 of the book.
Thank you, Shaquille. It's very kind of you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You had a minute left on your time. Scott Dunn.
Thank you. Mayor Peck, members of council, my name is Scott Dunn, 5918 Blue Mountain Circle, Longmont. I'm an attorney and represent Modern West 2, the owner of a mixed-use employment zone property south of Roger Road, north of Nelson and east of the airport. It is our understanding that on the agenda for the City Council study session next week may be a discussion with council on recent communications with senior city staff and the FAA related to the airport, and land use in the area. Last summer, our client was moving through the planning process for a concept plan amendment to permit a mixed-use, mixed-income.
Mayor, I need to interrupt. If you're talking about a pending quasi-judicial matter, those are not allowed during public comment.
I'm not talking about the application.
Okay.
I'm not talking about the application.
Sure sounded like it.
I'm just saying the context where while our client had already received a determination of no hazard from the FAA, progress was halted in June of last year when a letter was sent from the FAA to the city.
Scott.
What? I'm sorry.
How is that not about the application?
I'm frankly surprised. I was deliberately trying to just show the context of why I was here, and my understanding was there was going to be staff to get from input from the city on communications between the FAA and the city related to land use in the airport. I was trying to just express our thought on the general view of the FAA getting involved in the wider land use determinations by the city council. Now, yes, it could, we are have an application that's in this area, but I'm not specifically talking about our application. I was specifically going to address the matter of the FAA interfering, in our opinion, with the city council's decision on land use in an area of the city. I presume that was a legislative matter that, because it was going to come before the city in a communication, I thought we would weigh in on our thoughts on it. I believe,
Scott,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but wouldn't it be more appropriate to wait until we actually got that communication?
I was planning on being here next week too, Mayor. I just thought I was trying to, because we haven't seen the communication either, obviously,
Well,
and we wanted to just
But we
give
don't
somewhat
know.
of a thought on it.
But we don't know what you're talking about. So I think your thought on what the staff actually gives to us, because we haven't had it.
No, that's fine. I don't know what they're going to give it to either. I was just giving, because we have our own perspective, because we have been
sure you
privy
do.
to some things. So, and that's fine, believe me. But I mean, it's not our intention in any way. We understand that, and it is somewhat of threading a needle, because we're not trying to do that in any manner, but it is when you're getting into discussion about land use in a wider area and the FAA opining on that, there must be some forum where we're allowed to express our opinion on that.
And there would be, but from my perspective, and I don't know, maybe this council could weigh in on it, perhaps we should wait until council gets that communication so we know exactly what you're talking about.
Mayor and council, if I could suggest, I believe we will be coming forth with an agenda item. Maybe you and I could have a discussion before then, try to establish the right lines.
I would love to have that, believe me. I hope that's
That would be
fine, because
great.
we're not trying to step on any toes or go any, we were having a meeting tonight. I said I thought I'd show up and try to put my 2 cents in. So
We like
I'll be
your
back
2
here
cents.
next week, and I'll talk to the city attorney between now and then. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Doe Kelly.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, I'm Joe Kelly, and I live on Barberry Drive here in Longmont. And on this final April day, as I gazed out my window to see the dandelions scattered everywhere, knowing that they are our bees' first forage foods in the spring, I wanted to ask, what has happened to No More May? Especially now that all of our city's residents, large and small, are being captured inside of a wireless mesh network. It would be interesting to know how our pollinators do or do not fare in these new circumstances. Secondly, in my dreams last night, certain ladies of this council, headed up by Joan, surprised me with a gift bag. I think it was my birthday, but anyway, the gift bag seemed to be bottomless, and I didn't have time to fully explore what was in it before I awoke, but there seemed to be many layers of whatever it was, including documents, possibly scripts from the many public comments I've given, and much, much more, an entire rabbit hole of paper and experiences. But the feeling in the dream was of overwhelming goodwill, appreciation, and gratitude from both sides. So I'm here to express my gratitude for this process of coming to speak for the past 4 years in advocacy of safe technology and against wireless EMF, and for coming out of my comfort zone to figure out how to drop the many gems of knowledge, wisdom, and experience on this subject into the ears of my city council, past and present, and by doing so, fingers crossed, better educate everyone. So, a heartfelt thank you, and especially to the ladies in my dream. Now, the following from April of 23, in a public response to a notice of proposed rulemaking by the FCC, a total of 636 public comments were submitted that referenced EMS or electromagnetic sensitivity and asked the Commission to protect all EMS people from undesired and harmful RF exposure. There's more. A year back, the U.S. population was 332.4 million. These are the U.S. numbers of the EMS population by percent who can't work, 2.16 million, have severe symptoms, 4.99 million, have moderate symptoms, 16.6 million, have mild symptoms, 99.7 million, or 30% of the U.S. population. So in Longmont, with approximately 100,000 residents by extrapolation, you get 650 people who can't work, 1,500 with severe symptoms, 6,000 with moderate symptoms, 30,000 people with mild symptoms, and that's 30%. Shocking, isn't it? And it's not going away, not until we all wake up to this and stop the wireless insanity. Thank you, my mouth is dry.
Thank you, Doe. Jordan Person? I hope I said that right.
Person.
Person.
Jordan
Okay.
Person. Good evening, members of the council, Mayor Peck. My name is Jordan Person. I'm located at 640 Buchanan Lane. I just wanted to primarily say thank you and hello again. I came and spoke in January very briefly in regards to marijuana hospitality licenses. My goal is to apply for a permanent licensed premises with sales hospitality license. My goal is to open a cannabis spa. The primary use of cannabis using topicals. There will not be any retail sales of cannabis. It will be primarily, the sales model will be through the services themselves. So I just wanted to say thank you for having this study session tonight and for looking into whether or not you want to have this type of license in the city of Longmont. And I think that this would be an asset to your community. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. Beverly Clarich.
Beverly Claridge, 1760 Sunlight Drive, Longmont. Good evening, Honorable Mayor Peck and members of the council. People were generally sympathetic to Israelis after the horrific massacre they suffered on October last year. But very quickly, even before Israelis were able to fight back in self-defense, people turned their attention to the plight of the Palestinians as if Israelis had only suffered one day and were now fine. But almost 7 months after October 7th, Israelis continue to suffer in their very tiny country. The killings and abductions have touched everyone. Some 250,000 Israelis have been displaced. Those who were kidnapped and returned will be traumatized for a long time, maybe the rest of their lives. 9-year-old Emily Hand was returned in November. She came back thin and pale and could not speak, just whisper. Can you imagine what Israeli Holocaust survivors are feeling? Seeing the same kind of slaughter they previously experienced happening again? Families of those still held hostage in Gaza wait every day, not knowing when or if their loved ones will return or what torture they are experiencing in captivity. Emboldened by the barbaric October 7th attack, Hamas terrorists, as well as terrorists in Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, Iraq, and now Iran, are attacking Israelis with missiles and rockets. Israelis are still attacked in their own streets. Stabbings, shootings, car rammings, and explosive devices. Hundreds of attacks since October 8th, as well as many attempted attacks. The latest attack was on a school bus full of Israeli children. About 134 Hamas hostages remain in Gaza, many of whom are reported dead. Only 1-year-old Kiefer Bibas is still in Gaza. His family doesn't even know if he's alive. It's unfortunate that very little of what Israelis are experiencing is reported in American or our news media. What would have happened is if Israel had not fought back in self-defense on October 7th. It would have been a genocide to rival that of the Holocaust. The suffering of both Palestinians and Israelis is all due to the actions of Hamas, Islamic Jihad, other terrorist groups, as well as Palestinian citizens who participated in the massacre of October 7th.
Thank you, Beverly. Lance Whitaker.
Mayor and Council, my name is Lance Whitaker.
Lance, can you pull that microphone up?
Get a little organized here. There?
Yep.
We good? All right. My name is Lance Whitaker, 1750 Collier Street. Been a citizen of Longmont for 43 years now. Y'all are probably sick and tired of seeing me. I started the cannabis hospitality thing over a year ago, and glad to see all the work that Dawn has put in, and I would like to thank her, especially for all of her hard work. Today is National Preparation Day. I am not prepared today. Today is also National Military Brats Day. I didn't call them that. National Hairstylist Appreciation Day. No comment. National Adopt a Shelter Pet Day. I have to cry on this one. My dog's got liver disease, and I adopted him over 15 years ago. National Bubble Tea Day. Raisins Day. Oatmeal Cookie Day. So combine those raisins and oatmeal cookie and sit down and have bubble tea. National Honesty Day. Well, good luck finding any of that nowadays. And National Bugs Bunny Day. That's all, folks. Have a good day.
Thank you, Lance. Steve Altshuler.
Tough act to follow. Steve Altshuler, 1555 Taylor Drive. You kind of resolved a lot of this already, but since I was going to speak on this, I'd like to still go ahead and do that. I'd like to know why anti-Semitism is so widely tolerated in the United States, as seen by all of these colleges. I don't know why anybody pays to have their child go to any of these colleges. But I'm going to work back around to that. 2 years and 3 months ago, Russia invaded the Ukraine. Since then, the U.S. has spent almost $250 billion of our taxpayer money for military arms for the Ukraine. And the day after the last $95 billion was approved, Biden pledged 10 more years of providing money and more weapons to the Ukraine. One of my questions is, how does he know the war is going to last another 10 years unless they plan on it? Nobody has called for a ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia. Israel was attacked 7 months ago with 1,200 murdered civilians. Some people complain that Israel's retaliation is too strong. But when you're fighting, it's the same thing that happened in Vietnam. The people we were fighting don't wear uniforms. The IDF has a uniform, so Hamas knows who they're going after, and they go after civilians anyway, intentionally. But the IDF, anybody can be carrying a weapon and be a danger to them. And they drop pamphlets and they try to warn people, the civilians that get out of town. They do everything humanly possible to keep from having civilian casualties. But the terrorists use the civilians as shields. So my question is, so many people are trying to get Israel to stop fighting. And there's an expression that having Israel stop fighting while the terrorists are still around is like putting out 3/4 of a fire. It doesn't do any good. But again, back to the anti-Semitism, they're trying to get the Jews to stop fighting when the terrorists started the fight. There's like 1,000 missiles a year that get fired into Israel. Fortunately, it gets stopped by the Iron Dome. But every day in Israel, there's some danger. And the terrorists don't plan on stopping. And again, I'm going in circles, I apologize, I just had a thought. When you listen to they're not all school students, a lot of them are outside people invading the schools, they're chanting death to Israel and death to America. I don't understand how in the world we can allow that in our country. It's like if someone knocks on your door and you open the door and say, I want to come in and kill you. Oh, sure, come on in. Let me make you dinner. It's ridiculous. And I don't know if I have any time left because there's no clock up there anymore.
You don't
I
now.
don't. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Seeing no one else on the list, I will close public invited first call. We are now on our special reports and presentations. The first one is going to be a proclamation. This is a proclamation designating the month of May as Archaeological and Historic Preservation Month in Longmont, Colorado. Whereas historic preservation is an effective tool for revitalizing neighborhoods, fostering local pride, encouraging economic growth, and maintaining community character while enhancing livability. And whereas archaeological and historic preservation is relevant for communities across the nation, both urban and rural, and for Americans of all ages, all walks of life, and all backgrounds. And whereas it is important to celebrate the role of history and archaeology in our lives, and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping to preserve the tangible aspects of heritage that have shaped us as a people. And whereas the Historic Preservation Commission supports Archaeological and Historic Preservation Month in Longmont for May 2024. Now, therefore, I, Joan Peck, Mayor, by virtue of the authority vested in me and the City Council of the City of Longmont, do hereby proclaim the month of May as Archaeological and Historic Preservation Month in Longmont, Colorado. We have Jennifer Hewitt. And our advisory board.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. Jennifer Hewitt-Apperson, Planning and Development Services. With me this evening representing the Historic Preservation Commission for the City of Longmont are Suzanne Sibley and Doug Barnard.
Great, thank you. Do you want a picture with us with this? Sure. Yes.
Wash my hair.
Right in the center. Yeah, right under the logo. Yeah. There you go. We'll find the Velcro, no worries. Okay. Give me 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
And we have another proclamation. It's a proclamation designating May 5th through the 11th, 2024 as International Compost Awareness Week in Longmont, Colorado. Whereas the City of Longmont is committed to reducing landfill waste and diverting organic waste through composting as specified in the city's Zero Waste Resolution and Sustainability Plan. And whereas composting is an effective form of waste reduction, and since organic materials make up approximately 30% of the materials going to landfills, composting is one of the primary methods communities use to reach waste diversion goals. And whereas composting returns organic resources to the soil, promotes water conservation during extreme drought or flooding conditions, reduces water consumption, stores carbon in soils, reducing climate impact, and is a proven method of decreasing erosion and dependence on chemical fertilizers. And whereas composting creates jobs and infrastructure for cities and states who implement composting programs, and these communities, through their local governments, highway departments, soil conservation services, and public works professionals, have significantly, positively impacted clean water, soil, climate change, and landfill diversion by using compost for public works projects. And whereas the Compost Research and Education Foundation, along with countries around the world, have declared the first full week of May to be the annual International Compost Awareness Week. And this year's theme, Compost, Nature's Climate Champion, highlights the role compost plays in fighting climate change by decreasing methane, helping climate change mitigation, reducing fertilizer inputs, increasing resilience, and creating healthier soil, which produces healthier food. Now therefore, I, Joan Peck, Mayor by virtue of the authority vested in me, and the City Council of the City of Longmont, do hereby proclaim the week of May 5th through the 11th, 2024, as International Compost Awareness Week in Longmont, and invite all citizens in the community to learn about and share the benefits of composting and healthy soil practices now and year-round. Perfect. And here is Naomi Kirtland.
Mayor Peck and council members, I am honored to be here today on behalf of Sustainable Resilient Longmont and our Zero Waste Action Team to receive this proclamation in recognition of International Compost Awareness Week. Our Zero Waste team has helped promote composting signups, supported local policy work like last year's Universal Recycling Ordinance, and educated residents about composting and waste diversion at city festivals, which we're looking forward to again this year, starting this coming Saturday at Cinco de Mayo. We are grateful to live in a community that cares about composting and waste diversion, and to have a city council that is addressing our zero waste goals through policy. Tonight's proclamation is another community initiative that highlights the many benefits of composting and demonstrates our shared commitment to the use of composting to achieve our city's zero waste goals. International Compost Awareness Week is the perfect time to focus on developing regional composting solutions that will truly serve our needs and help us meet our waste diversion goals. When Commissioner Stolzman visited City Council earlier this month, we were thrilled to see support for the development of a regional facility from our mayor and our council members, directing city staff to work with Boulder County on this initiative. We are also encouraged to see the positive reception of a composting resolution presented last week from the Sustainability Advisory Board. This is almost composting month, and then composting awareness a week next week. Sustainable Resilient Longmont supports the development of a publicly owned regional facility that can process all our organic waste, eliminating the long, wasteful trip to and from Keensburg, while also providing the opportunity for us to create better systems for waste processing that could properly handle a range of compostable materials focused on the public good rather than commercial profits. We have been advocating for regional composting infrastructure for many years now, and we urge council and staff to seize this opportunity to swiftly move forward in partnership with Boulder County and advance a publicly owned regional composting facility as quickly as possible. Thank you so much for this proclamation and for your commitment to diverting organic waste and improving our composting here in Longmont. Thank you.
We are definitely going to take a picture.
Yes, please. And Sherry's going to come up with it for our team too.
Yeah, let's scoot down a little bit this way this time. Yeah, a little more. No. A little more. Yeah, there you go. I just like to get you centered underneath the logo. Yeah. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
Yes, you guys keep in mind?
Yeah.
So what do we have next? So now we're on to our agenda study session items. The first one is the 2023 Library Annual Report.
Hi, good evening, Mayor Peck and members of council. I'm John Solomon. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the library director for the Longmont Public Library. And I am simply here to introduce Jamie Quirk, one of our library advisory board members, who is going to present the 2023 Public Library Annual Report. Thank you.
And we don't have the monitors, we have one working. Are these working?
Yeah, let me bring this up. That one works, and then you should have some copies of the slideshow. Sorry, I forgot.
For them to see, yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
We're all set?
Yes.
Hi. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to present to you tonight a snapshot of the Longmont Library's past year. It was a good year, and my hope is that emerging from all of these numbers and statistics is a window into how thousands of Longmont residents spend their time, what they pay attention to, pursue, and prize. It's a window into a highly utilized, highly valued community resource, a real gem in the city's crown. First, I want to discuss community engagement in 2023 and library use. What is engagement? We are talking about the very small, hard to read numbers but large in reality, numbers and interactions with the public. What is happening within the library's walls as well as without? Programming, extremely popular among adults and youth here in Longmont. That includes story times, crafts, author talks, a real variety of offerings, many of which have been at capacity in the past year. These are human interactions. They provide entertainment, education, opportunities for relationship building, and to just pick a couple of cherries out of this basket, 4,600 adult program attendees, and 21,275 attendees at children's and teens programs in 2023. All programs are made possible through funding from the Friends of the Library, which is a group of volunteers who put in hundreds of hours every week to raise money for programs as well as other benefits for the library. In 2023, the Friends of the Library contributed $44,000, almost $45,000 towards programming and other benefits. Adult services, we'll just go clockwise. Adult services, that 22,000 number, almost 23,000, those are interactions with the reference desk, with library staff, at the information counter, assistance in the computer lab. So really, anytime anyone had a question that was not a directional, where's the restroom sort of thing, that counts. And that 22,000 number on the bottom is how many sessions a patron was using computers in the lab. The children's and teen services, also almost 20,000 interactions at the reference desk, requests for assistance, opportunities to interact with staff. These are high numbers. The program attendance for children and teens in particular is quite high. It is not unique attendees. Many of these families, these young people, come to programs multiple times a week. Every week, they're return patrons of library services. Circulation, I'm kind of going diagonal for a minute, but these are the materials that have been checked out, borrowed from the library. I'm sorry. 79,000 reference and information assistance. I'm just going to ask for clarification. That's
Same thing, just at the.
it's interactions.
Correct.
Okay. It's not materials yet. My apologies. I'm going to go to the next slide. Here we're going to get into physical and digital materials checkouts. Oh, let me go back 1 second. Sorry. Outreach services. This is distinct from community engagement in that these are connections with the public outside of the library's walls. So it's at events such as the many city festivals and street fairs, as well as events held by the library, outreach events specifically. And those total patrons reached 13,000. Those are interactions with those individuals. And 29 tours included of the Longmont Library. Now to physical materials. Checkouts. All right. I'm going to look at this screen instead. It's a little bit easier to read. So we have almost 1 million materials checked out. That is not just physical books, it's also electronic materials, digital downloads. You can see almost 500,000 of the digital downloads right there. And that also includes use of electronic databases. We have over 100,000 card holders. I believe that's still a bit higher than the number of residents in Longmont. And in 2023, more than 5,000 new cards were issued. 68,458 holds retrieved. Those are items that patrons requested in advance, and they are set aside. So it's not just browsing, it's not an impulse selection, it is something intentionally requested and retrieved. And I'm looking to see if there was one. And then we also circulated over 1,000 Wi-Fi hotspots and Chromebooks. So the library is a resource for providing technological resources as well, and as well as the Library of Things, which is an increasingly popular collection, also funded by the Friends of the Longmont Library, where you can take out tools, you can take out yard games, you can take out a GoPro camera, pretty much all these things that may be pretty inaccessible or unaffordable to the average person, or you don't need it for more than a short while. You can borrow completely free of charge from the Longmont Library, and as you can see, they are quite popular. So are the board games. They have a really innovative way of tracking all those little board game pieces. They check the games out and in by weight. So that's always fascinating to me, that you can get a board game and have all of the pieces from your public library. The State Park Pass backpacks are also pretty innovative, and the Discovery Passes, I don't know how widely known the Discovery Passes are, but they're essentially passes to go to a whole host of local museums, galleries, other family-friendly environments where the tickets for admission could be, $20, $30. I'm thinking of the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. 1,400 of those passes were reserved through our library. That is like more than 100 passes per month all year long. Saving Longmont residents a lot of money. I know one person who had their daughter's birthday party at one of these museums and was able to check out enough free passes to bring their child and a couple of friends from school, and that was definitely something that family would not have been able to do otherwise. Let me just see where I am. Where was the circulation number? I have on my notes that circulation of all of these materials, we served in the library more than 80,000 people, which is almost the whole population of the city. Marketing and online engagement in 2023. So this is still engagement, but it is more going out into the digital space and bringing people in to the library. The library sends newsletters, emails, maintains at least one social media account, and those numbers too are very impressive for not only the limited staff at the library, but also the ever-growing population of Longmont itself. Our open rate on the emails is 55%, which doesn't sound like the most impressive number, except that industry standard for an open rate on emails for similar organizations is 43. Similar with click rate, industry standard is a 2% click rate. That is, I send you an email and you click on something interesting to go to a website or something else, and the library's click-through rate has been 4% in 2023. And the number number of new subscribers to the e-newsletter, a total of just over 4,000 subscribers just in the past, is it just in 2023? Or
it's a little confusing. It's the total number.
it's the total number for 2023. We netted 573 new subscribers. The library's website, which is part of the city's website, the homepage ranked number 3 in page views for the entire site, showing considerable engagement and use. I think I have to look closer here. It is really hard to see. Aside from the homepage and accessing personal accounts, some of the or most frequently visited pages include the library calendar, the Discovery Pass page, and getting a library card. As far as social media is concerned, for the Facebook account, Longmont residents really liked when the library went fine-free. These are the top 5 posts of 2023. It was a post about going fine-free, a post about heading to city parks, solicitations of donations for Prom Boutique, which happens annually, and the Peeps contest winners. If you've been into the library around Easter time and have seen those dioramas of Peeps acting out the various books that children and other artists enjoy. And then Pride Month events also received a fair amount of engagement through Facebook. So those are just the overview of statistics. You have printouts of the full annual report in front of you. This is the only community space where everything is free. It's one of the only indoor spaces where anyone can spend time without being expected to spend money. And it's through the dedication of staff and volunteers that these achievements have been possible. This report's a celebration of all that hard work. And I thank you.
We don't get many applauses in here, so that was, yes, we do love our library. Thank you very much and welcome to the staff. So, thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from council? Yes, Councilor Rodriguez.
Oh, no, me.
Hidalgo Ferry.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. So I sit on as the council liaison to the library board, and so I hear this. I saw this report earlier, and it is really amazing what is all accomplished with little means as far as staff capacity and space and even circulation materials. I mean, there's a lot of hidden costs that include the going digital. So people who are acquiring digital books and media, that all costs money. So maybe we don't necessarily see them on the shelves, but that is an incurring cost. So, and I don't, I didn't prep you ahead of time to come back with numbers, but I mean, really, approximately, as we're advancing to the digital age and more people are wanting to access these materials out of the comfort of their own home without having to necessarily walk in the library, about how much of our budget is, or the library budget is impacted, or maybe how popular is that becoming as far as digital materials goes? So there's a twofold question in there.
Yeah, thank you for the question. You're correct, right? The digital materials are increasingly popular, and with the current budget we have, we allot as much as we can without diminishing our physical collection, which is still very popular.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, But between when I've been here last year and then this year, we spend close to $100,000 just on digital materials alone.
Okay. And then, you know, I'm looking, and it was on slide 3, I believe, with a little snippet about the Friends of the Library, their contribution.
Correct.
So really, they pay 100% of our library programs. And looking at neighboring cities, is it typical that their programs run on a donation?
No, that is
Yeah.
not typical. This is unique to Longmont Public Library. Most
Yes.
public libraries, programming is considered as just as essential as collections.
Yes.
So unfortunately, we're in that position where we rely on the Friends. They're fabulous, but yes, we 100% of all that programming. Without it, probably no summer reading program and no events throughout the year.
Yeah, and I think something that I've seen lately that's been a big benefit to especially folks who don't have the means, don't have the cars, or maybe babysitters are with the kids because the parents are working, are the engagement, the outreach to parks, like Collier Park, and having those programming, you know, back in the day when my kids were little, that didn't exist. You know, we were a much smaller community then. But having those types of opportunities and getting creative in how you all are reaching the public is also something, you know, I wanted to highlight and make sure that our community knows and realize that you all are, I mean, I think when we, and I'm going to call it out, when we put this initiative on the ballot to have expand library, it wasn't necessarily just to have, you know, create a fancy library, but it was really in order for us to be able to adequately fund the services that people have become so accustomed, we've become accustomed to this, but you've been able to kind of work your magic, and I really saw that being on the board, is how your fewer people are doing a lot of work with little staff, little means. I mean, they're performing miracle work. And I appreciate that, but I also get concerned of burnout. And, you know, I'd really hate, we have a lot of talented and very enthusiastic staff that I would hate to lose because we're pushing them to the limit. So that's, you know, and I appreciate that you all were willing to come out and share the report, the findings, and really be able to educate our community in the services that you all do, and the dedication of our board, advisory board. So thank you for coming out. They are not paid to come out here, by the way, so it's the love for the library. So, yeah, and I guess, you know, what could some of the, you know, so if we did not have to rely on the Friends to pay for services that could be put into the budget, what could we use that money that the Friends, so, you know, the 45 or approximately 45,000?
Yeah, you know, that's a great question, and, you know, with most other libraries that have support of that, of a Friends group that raises money, typically that would be for bigger events, like bringing in a major author or something that really appeals to the community. You know, if it's not something you're aware of, bringing in somebody like that, you think about a major author can cost, you know, $10,000, $20,000. That would eat up our Friends' budget in a year, pretty much. So we can't do that. But that's really where you can benefit from a Friends group and really bring in the community to some big events that I think no one would say they don't want.
Yeah.
Right.
And it just enhances the experience for
Absolutely.
our residents and folks
Yeah.
and kids that don't necessarily are able to even leave Longmont. So bringing that quality
Correct.
programming here. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, Councilor Hidalgo Faring's comments made me think of a couple of things as well, and I was disappointed, actually, that the library ballot issue went down because we're growing so fast. We're getting so big. And she made a good point in that volunteers are incredible, but they're not employed. They don't have hours, specific hours. They don't have to show up. So counting on them is, it's not a good managerial position to be in. So I'm hoping that we can do better with the library. But thank you so much, because I know that you're probably all exhausted. You put in a lot of time and effort, and you do a great job. Thank you.
It's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Councilor Christ.
Well, thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to say that I think a vibrant library is an essential service to the city, and we appreciate everything you do. Is there something more that the public or the council can do to help support the Friends of the Library so that you have more dollars available for programming and other services?
Thank you for the question. I think, in part, it's just what you said in couching the library as an essential service. And I think that is something that a lot of people still don't realize. I think maybe the pandemic helped create a little bit more of a sense of libraries being essential when, at least where I was at the time, that's what people were craving. They were like, wait, where's my library? And so we came out and we were there. And I think if people have a sense of the library as truly being as an essential service, and think about what libraries provide to anybody, I mean, I would wager to guess that no one on this council got through their education without at least some point stepping in a library. So yes, it's essential. And I think that's the message, and that's what gets people to believe.
Yeah, it was one of the most painful things to have closed for a period of time, was the library. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else in the queue for questions. Thank you.
Much appreciated. Thank you all.
Let's take a 5 or 10 minute break. Well, I always say 5, but it goes over. So we'll say 5.
We'll do an 8.5.
back in session for the liquor, marijuana, and other licensing code updates. And we have Don Quintana, our city clerk.
Good evening, Mayor Peck and members of council. Don Quintana, City Clerk. We are back to continue our presentation that we began on January 9th. You asked us to bring back more information on marijuana hospitality licenses, a marijuana social equity program, and on festival permits on the liquor side of licensing. So first I want to introduce this great team that has worked together to bring this information forward. Tim Hull, Assistant City Attorney, has been a great advisor to us. This is Christina Marcus. She's our licensing administrator. So she actually does all this work for our office.
Okay.
And then Grant Penland, planning director, and then not here tonight is our GIS helper in planning, Justin DeHarsh, who's helped us pull together some great maps. So just want to thank everybody for all their help. I want to give you a heads up. This is a regulatory heavy topic. Lots and lots of details in the regulations. Well, our attempt here tonight is to give you regulatory light to help you make informed decisions, but not trying to make you understand all the regulations or go that far whatsoever. So just wanted to share that with you. And then lastly, I wanted to explain that these licenses exist already in state statute. So we, as a municipality, can opt in to offer these in our city or not. So a marijuana hospitality exists in statute, and then Longmont can decide whether we would like that type of license here. So we'll talk tonight about marijuana hospitality licenses. We'll look at the marijuana social equity program, and then we'll talk about the festival permits. And we are looking for direction. Do you want us to bring back some code changes or not? That's what we're hoping to get to tonight. So we'll go one by one. Marijuana hospitality licenses. So these came into law in 2019. House Bill 19-1230, as a member of the public has shared that number with you many times. Marijuana hospitality license. Of course, it's illegal to consume marijuana in the state of Colorado in the public. So a hospitality license creates a place for people to consume, apply, ingest marijuana legally. That's what a marijuana hospitality license is. There are very few of these in the state. The city and county of Denver let out, licensed the first location when these were first approved. So you'll see that we refer heavily to the city and county of Denver because they've blazed the trail, as it were. I'll try and not be too punny. But there are very few of these in existence and very few licenses currently approved. So I did a check today. Marijuana hospitality with sales, there's 3 approved licenses in the state right now. And just marijuana hospitality without sales, there's 8, and 3 or 4 of those are obviously mobile by the punny names of their businesses. So there are 3 options in a marijuana hospitality license. A permanent licensed premises, meaning a brick and mortar location without sales, whereby someone would bring their own, consume it there. If they still had any left, they would take their own back home with them. Permanent licensed premises with sales, think like a bar you go there, you buy your beer, you drink your beer there, and you cannot leave with it. Same concept, but only with marijuana. And then the third type is a mobile premises, like a shuttle or a bus. No sales are allowed, but allows consumption on a tour bus or on a limo or those kinds of things. So those are the 3 different options within marijuana hospitality. Some of the cans and can'ts. They can operate from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. I've given you much more detail in your council communication. They could have an outdoor area. Of course, there's a whole lot of regulation around that. They could sell coffee, tea, and prepackaged foods. What they can't do is allow anyone under 21, period. No alcohol or tobacco shall be consumed. Those 2 worlds shall not mix. Cannot allow permit disorderly conduct, and allow visible displays outside the premises, to name a few. There's a whole lot more regs. Again, this is regulatory light. So tonight, we have focused on 2 options, the permanent licensed premises without sales and the permanent licensed premises with sales, because those are the two options that members of the public have expressed an interest to you all. We have not heard any interest in a mobile, so we have not spent time there. The permanent licensed premise without sales, a commercial entertainment facility with a bring your own model, no sales, would fit under that license type. Massage services with sales would fall under a permanent licensed premises with sales. So if we were to allow a permanent licensed hospitality, the question would be where? The next question would be where would we allow this? And so we have a gratuitous picture there of the comp plan, also in your handout. Looks this exact same presentation I gave you in your handout. We have some tools already in our book to regulate where these could be located. First of all, we have Land Development Code and the Table of Allowed Uses. So Title 15 already says that a commercial entertainment facility would be a permitted use in the Table of Allowed Uses in the MUC, MUD, MUE, and MUR zoning areas. Massage or personal service is allowed in those same zones, just with the addition of MUN. So already the Table of Allowed Uses provides us some guidance on where these might be located. Also, the marijuana code under 6.70 in the Longmont Municipal Code specifies that marijuana licensed businesses shall not be located within 200 feet of a residentially zoned area, nor within 1,000 feet of a kindergarten through 12 school. We already have those parameters in our code. So we wanted to show you, illustrate what that might look like. And I'll get there in just a second. The question we have for you, if you want to implement marijuana hospitality licenses, is are those restrictions enough? Or would you like to follow suit, City and County of Denver, and add additional distance restrictions from preschools, licensed child care facilities, licensed drug and alcohol treatment facilities, city-owned recreation centers or pools, and then other marijuana hospitality businesses of the same type. So we want to show you what that might look like, because it's hard to comprehend. What are you talking about, Don? So on your desks, I gave you each two big maps. One is labeled in the top right corner, map 1, and the other in the top right corner says map 3. So map 1 on the screen, for those looking up at the screen, is the map on the left. And this shows, again, this is just an illustration of what distance restrictions would do. This is the MUC and the MUD zones only, so it's not all of the zones. And we've already put in the 250-foot buffer. It's kind of red. And then the dotted line is then inside that buffer. What is left inside that dotted black line that goes up and down the middle of our map there is what would be left, where a business would be allowed without adding any additional restrictions.
So, Don, for the public, we know that MU means mixed use.
Yes.
But what do the C, D, E, and Ns mean? Do you know those?
I would call my friend Grant Penland
Here
to the
comes-
table. Yeah, D is downtown.
Okay.
That's the end of my knowledge.
C is corridor, N is neighborhood, E is employment, and I forgot the last one.
R.
R is regional commercial, so. that
Regional
covers it,
commercial.
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Grant. So on the left, again, the map shows what we have currently in our code. If you were to locate a marijuana hospitality business and follow the Table of Allowed Uses and what we have with distance restrictions now, that might be what would be allowed in the MUC, MUD. Map number 3, the one on the right, that demonstrates all those green bubbles are one of those facilities that Denver has put a distance restriction from, a childcare, preschool, drug alcohol treatment, a city pool or recreation center. So you can see that all that's left is sort of down to the lower middle, sort of a little bottom sliver of the downtown area, and then a narrow sliver south of Ken Pratt and a slice down very south. So it eliminates, you can see it eliminates the majority, those distance restrictions if you imposed in terms of the MUC and the MUD, would eliminate a whole lot of space down Main Street for sure. I'm gonna pause. There are questions on these maps because it's a lot to look at. It took us a while to absorb as we got these maps.
When you say MUN, so these can be in neighborhoods, what exactly does that mean? Like in a residential block?
It would be in the mixed-use neighborhood zone. So these are all mixed-use zones. None of those are going to be straight residential neighborhoods. They're all mixed use. So if you look at the comp plan, if we have the key, do you remember? Yeah, the salmon-colored pink that's up there.
Whoops, sorry.
There's very small areas.
All of the yellow is residential.
Yeah, the yellow is residential.
And it wouldn't be allowed.
Right, and not allowed. In the broad, if you're looking up at this big comp plan map, does that help? Yes. We just focused on the MUC, MUD to show the illustration of how much would be eliminated if you added Denver's restrictions in Longmont. All right.
Councilor Martin.
Should I go back? Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I just wanted to know that, are the buffer zones that Denver has adopted specified in the state code that you can either set them or not, or could we set them to something different?
We can be more restrictive than statute. We can't be less restrictive. So Denver has chosen to be more restrictive. Do you want to add to that?
There are no setbacks in the state statutes for.
Okay. So they could be smaller, for example, if we wanted to have a place in the north corridor, we could make them smaller enough that there could be 1 or 2 spots.
With,
Or make them.
yeah, with the exception of medical marijuana, the setbacks are entirely optional.
Yeah.
And they could be 500, it could be 750, it could be, we could identify what some of those points are, and maybe it's a particular facility that maybe you don't want to add a restriction to. So there's a lot of detail in this map, but if we implemented all of those distance restrictions, it would basically knock out that corridor until you get down to 2nd and Main, 3rd and Main, yeah. Right. Lower downtown, correct. All right, then the next question would be, how would you get a license? Where, we would need to determine where. How would you get a license? The process is, they file with the state first, the state sends us an application. We would need a complete application. In your packet, I laid out some, but not all of the extensive application requirements laid out in Longmont Municipal Code. Some of the things we require are a business plan, odor control management. There's an extensive list of requirements for your application. We would need them to pay some fees, of course. And in terms of fees, we recommend just following suit with City and County of Denver, a $1,000 one-time application fee, and then a $2,000 annual license fee. Then that would go to the Marijuana Licensing Authority, who here is our judge, our municipal judge, and that application would be vetted as per normal, just like any other marijuana license application has been.
Hey, Don, real quick, can you
Yes.
go back
Back,
to the map? I want to remind council, if you look at childcare facilities, one of the directions that council's given us is to look at allowing childcare facilities in mixed-use areas. And so we do have direction from council to bring that back to you all. And so just keep that in the back of your mind, that as you're looking at this, we're also working on the motion to bring the child care component back, which there could be some inherent conflicts. And so I just wanted to jump in and remind you that's coming too.
Yeah, especially when we think of the Ascent project that we are working with. Okay, thanks for that reminder.
thank you, Harold. Then assuming they would go through the process and be licensed. So wanted to jump back to, what about that cap? So we talked about that last time a little bit. As you know, there is a cap on retail marijuana licenses set by council back when Longmont implemented or opened the door for retail marijuana stores. There's a cap of 4. We have 4 licensees currently. And in our initial discussion in January, there was a general sense, you all didn't vote, but a general sense, maybe not to mess with that cap, to leave the stores alone. And then perhaps to treat hospitality separately. So the way to do that would be to do one of 2 things. Exempt marijuana hospitality from the cap on retail licenses, period, and let the market decide. Or exempt and then ask us to bring back information on a cap, or put Tim to work on devising how we might cap, and give us some direction on what you might be interested in setting that at. So information on the cap. So just to recap, our questions for you regarding marijuana hospitality are meaty. Would you like to add this license type? If we're given direction tonight, then of course we would go back and draft actual language. We have not done that yet because we don't have enough direction to do that. Draft that, bring that back to probably a 0 reading to make sure we captured your thoughts. And then once we cleared the 0 reading, then go to a first reading and a second reading and public hearing. If passed, 10 days after publication, that would become effective unless you set a different effective date in the ordinance. So that's going to be the process. If you would like a marijuana license type, would you like with sales, without sales, mobile? Where would you like these? Would you like additional zoning restrictions like Denver? Is there any additional criteria you'd like to add there in terms of application criteria, or any, really? Cap or no cap, and fees. We need some direction on fees. So we need just a little bit of direction. Lots of questions for you. And I can keep going, or we can pause on these questions, or do you want to pause? Okay.
Councillor Martin.
Yes, I would like to have more information for the 0 reading on some of these things, like do other municipalities have caps for these types of businesses? And is Denver the only one? Would it be feasible to have a second cap that would include both types of hospitality, so that the market could have, whichever was more popular, but, the 2 people that have expressed business models to us already, I think they should have a chance to each do it. So I wouldn't want the cap to be so low that only one of them would win.
Councillor McCoy.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I tend to agree with the issue around the cap, and then I also think that probably the option 1 for hospitality licensing, permitting license premises without sales, and I think that's what that way we have some way of kind of having people take it with them when they're done. There's a bit of a concern there in regards to what they bring in. We need to probably look at that too, about is it sealed before it's there? Like sometimes people would talk about how they had in communities and states where they didn't have sales for alcohol, you'd come in with the alcohol sealed and someone would open it for you. Then after that, they would package it for you to leave in some way, so that they could see that it was something that is licensed in the state of Colorado and everything. So, did you have a question about that, Mike? Okay. So that's my my general consensus thought about that. Right now, we're not making these 1,000-foot setbacks. Is that what?
We do not. We would need to add that, have that direction to bring that back in your code.
I myself don't think we probably need to. I think we're already being careful enough about how close we are to schools. It looks like there's no way we either would end up clustering every opportunity in this situation to a very specific area of town, or some other unforeseen aspect. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I hope that gave you 3 at least.
That's helpful. Thank you, Councilmember McCoy.
Counselor Hidalgo Faring.
Thank you, Mary. Mary. I've renamed you.
Yeah, well, that was the other day. Go ahead and
Thank
talk.
you, Mayor. Good God, okay. So, in regard to the licensing types, it sounded like there was interest in the with sales and without. So I would be interested in pursuing those two without the mobile option. That almost seems like a headache in and of itself anyways, so we don't need that kind of party bus going around. So, and then the other one, so the 3 are all, okay. The additional zoning restrictions, I think for us to try to follow suit with Denver, Denver's a completely different animal. They have other spaces that they could, they have more spaces to work with. We don't. So, I think what we have in regard to being mindful of schools, possibly daycares, that, but I think where we stand right now is fine. The application criteria, was that the one with, no, that's not the fees. Remind me again, let me go back.
Fees is at the bottom of the list, but the criteria is the list of all the things they file with an application.
Okay.
It's on page.
So, yeah, I don't have anything additional to add to that piece. As far as the cap, I think we should really look and kind of let the market decide. I think we're coming into new territory. I think that, folks who do engage, whether it be, via massage or smoking, it's, I don't think that a lot of people who are not part of this, I mean, it really feels like, I have some cousins who are like, it's a culture. And okay, that's, you do you. And so I want to be mindful that that we are kind of honoring and kind of allowing people to, where the interest lies, to kind of direct that. We can review that at a later time, but I don't think we're going to get out of hand with having a bunch of facilities. I mean, I think we can let the market decide that component. Eventually, I would kind of like to look at the fee structure in some of other municipalities similar to us, especially as we're looking at equity being an issue, as far as who can, small, a one-person business, would they be able to handle a fee? Would that make it unattainable? So, what could we do with fees to make it more attainable to just small mom and pop businesses?
If I may, Mayor and Council,
Yes.
Councilmember Hidalgo Faring, in terms of fees, Denver, of the 11 existing approved licenses, 8 of those are in Denver. So it's
okay.
That's why we went after their, followed their fees. So really, there aren't tons of examples.
Okay.
Antonito is one spot down on the state line south, and then Thornton and Arvada each have. So we could look and see what they do.
What they do.
But Denver has the bulk, and they've.
Yeah. See, and I just don't think that we're going to get a large amount of people coming in to open up shops. That's kind of what I'm getting at. So, I feel like I would rather be able to make it attainable for smaller businesses to be able to open up as opposed to some big chains who have means and that could pay these types of fees. So, I'd kind of like to relook at that.
Counselor Yarbrough.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. Are we looking at, I just want to clarify, map number 3 is our map, or is it map number 1? Number 1? Okay. Okay, I wanted that clarification. So I guess my questions are, I agree with Mayor Pro Tem about discarding number 3 as far as an option, the mobile premises. So I guess one of my questions is, because of the locations are very limited, would they all kind of be clumped together? You know, if, say for instance, I definitely want a cap. I'm not sure, I'm sure we'll discuss about what the cap should be, but I do feel like there should be a cap. And since the locations are very limited, will they all be in that location? And then also thinking about, and maybe I'm misunderstanding, but if we have without sales, say the massage therapist, what if they wanted to provide those services out of their home or their ADU that's on their property? How would that work?
First, if I might, Mayor Peck and Councilmember Yarbrough. So the massage license type is with sales by definition in statute. So statute has defined that license type already. So that would be with sales, kind of period. That's the way that one works. I don't know the answer to the question about home-based business. I'm going to turn to my friend Grant. Does he know this answer? Do you want to?
Yeah, generally would, being in residential only district. We'd have to look at it in terms of the home-based business itself. Generally, something like that would be allowed if it wasn't related to marijuana business. I don't know if that answers your question.
Even without sales?
But the setback to residential would automatically preclude in most residential home occ.
Okay, just wanted to make sure with that. Basically, that's it. I just wanted to verify which map, and then also home-based businesses. And I definitely want a cap, and I think we also need to consider what if, whatever is available as far as location, where would they be? Would they all be clumped together? You know, considering if we say 4 is the cap or 3 is the cap, whatever, would they all be in the same area? Because that may be the least expensive for them to lease. Things like that we need to consider, I think.
Thank you, Mayor Peck and Councilmember Yarbrough. I think with, if you implemented the additional distance restrictions shown in map 3, that would probably tend to cluster them more. I'm just thinking logically, if we just stuck with the table of allowed uses and our 250 foot from residential and the setback from schools, that would leave you with a whole lot more space, as you can see in map 1, which would theoretically spread things out a little more. I think Tim's going to add.
And so the Denver setbacks are just an option to give you an idea of what some other people are doing. You could also, if you wanted to pinpoint that issue, make a setback from other hospitality businesses.
Okay.
But then it's a race to the door to who gets licensed first.
Right.
We'd have to figure out if we had 2 licenses pending at the same time in the same location.
Okay.
Some complexity. But you could add just that setback if you were interested.
Thank you.
Councilor Christ.
We also still have some ordinance issues with smoking within town. Is that correct, Dawn?
Thank you, Councilmember Christ. Yes, you asked a great question about how this interplays with the Colorado Clean Indoor Act. Marijuana hospitality is explicitly exempted in the Clean Indoor Act, but we do have a section in our municipal code where we would need to add an exemption for marijuana hospitality. I'm not the attorney, but it seems like a pretty easy fix to add and marijuana hospitality. But we would need to also, if given direction to add hospitality, we would add that fix in there and any others that might be needed.
But if it was outside the city limits, that wouldn't be an issue? And
It would not be our jurisdiction to regulate outside city
Right,
limits.
okay.
Right.
And then, so I'm looking at slide, on page number 5, Longmont Municipal Code, it says a commercial entertainment facility is permitted use only, or in the MUC, MUD, MUE, and MUR zoning areas. So, and it is not permitted, well, let's see. So not in the yellow residential zoning.
Correct.
So is there also some limitation in terms of being close to dispensaries?
We could, council could add a distance restriction to keep a buffer around dispensaries or around marijuana hospitality businesses or any marijuana-related business. That would be an additional restriction. We would need direction to add.
I guess they can't be super close. I mean, like within walking distance or something, I saw a limitation of some type.
There isn't one unless council added one, to be clear.
Okay. Then I haven't had some, and we were given a packet from one of our constituents about concern about marijuana use, particularly at the younger ages. So I wonder if we've considered upping the age to 25. And I'm just going to throw out that at age 26, the insurance rates go down for drivers. It's also the age where the military says they don't think they can train you anymore. So it's obviously the age of good decision-making at 26. So I'm just saying, maybe age 25 might be the way to go.
For some people.
I agree with caps. I'm a little perplexed by all the intricacies. Maybe it's because we've had a lot of detail tonight. So I guess I want more time to study before I say bring back X, Y, and Z. But I agree with caps. I think we need to be cognizant of where the dispensaries are. And yeah, I think a lot of people are going to end up at the south, lower downtown. So.
Okay, when I look at map 3, which is our downtown area with all of the 1,000-foot setbacks, I just want to think about what do we want our downtown area from, I guess, 21st to 1st. What do we want that to look like going forward? And I do think that we should, could you remind me, first of all, what are our restrictions around schools? What is the setback?
1,000 foot from a K-12 school.
Okay, I think we should keep that implemented. And also, I don't think that they should be near liquor stores or, well, I can't say where you consume liquor because that could be everybody's house. So,
Restaurants even.
yeah, or restaurants, yeah, we can't do that, but liquor stores definitely, or bars. I do think we need caps. I have no idea what that would be, but I'm reading this. And when I go to the social equity page, it talks about the effects of decades of criminal enforcement of marijuana laws on communities of color. So in order to have social equity, I'm assuming this means that allowing people of color to have a hospitality. I didn't quite understand what that meant.
Mayor Peck, you are just ahead of me a tad. But that's okay. That's the next section.
Oh, I read ahead.
That's a different set of questions.
Okay, never
This
mind.
is part A, B, and C.
Put that on the back burner. So anyway, I guess that's it. I just want to make sure that we have a vision of what we want our downtown area to look like. We've been planning for a very long time, and that's important. Also, I think that the cap, letting the market decide, with this council, I would like to start out with a cap, and other councils will decide what they want to do or don't want to do, but just to open it up to the market, I'm more conservative than just opening it up. Also, I would like to know, are there any risk factors or any increased unlawfulness with these hospitality places? Can we get some of that information from Denver or?
Absolutely.
And also, along with that, we could have an update on the police enforcement in our own city with what we've got. Is it a problem? Is it not a problem? As long as we're doing this, let's look at all of it. I can't imagine anybody with getting a massage would be that unlawful, but yes, two different businesses. Do you have what you need, or is there something else we have not addressed?
Let me just share back what I think I've heard.
Okay.
I haven't heard from Councilmember Rodriguez, not to put you on the spot. And that I would appreciate a few more details from Councilmember Martin. But generally, I've heard so far, generally both types, with and without, generally interested in a cap. Zoning restrictions, you're kind of split. Some want them, some don't. So would need some clarity there. And we definitely have some questions to answer for you. In terms of fees, I don't have a clear answer yet either.
Yeah, if I can help you, Dawn, I think we had 3 council members specifically mention caps.
Yep.
So not clear.
Not clear for.
For caps. I also think that I heard 3 council members, and it was vague on the zoning, but it was location being kind of a concern. Are we aggregating them? Are we doing this? But again, not for in terms of how we approach that. And so I think that's kind of what we're struggling with, is what do we bring back?
And then the fees, what would you like to see?
Okay, I did find where it says this.
Oh, Counselor Christ.
Yeah. So on slide 8 in the packet that we received, not in the handout, it says overlapping premises. It's hospitality business basics, overlapping premises. The licensed premises of a hospitality business cannot overlap with the licensed premise of a medical or retail marijuana store or liquor licensed premise. Must have a separate address, separate entrances and exits, no door or hallway, and no windows on shared walls. It also says, okay, so cannot be visible from outside of the licensed premise, and there's site obscuring wall, fence, hedge, and other opaque or translucent barriers. So there are some site-specific considerations, I guess.
I believe you're referring to the packet of information from city that we included from City and County of Denver, the slideshow.
Yeah, the hospitality
That is
business
the
basics.
information they rolled out when they rolled these licenses out. It's very robust.
So you're saying it includes more than we would have to include?
They've covered quite a bit of statute in their presentation. Let me just get to the page that you're speaking of.
Okay, that's page 8.
Page 8.
Right, generally you can't have 2 licenses in one location, so no overlapping, that's,
It's on this.
I'm just not, what page was that, Council? Oh, these aren't numbered. 5? 8.
It's 8 of 27 in the packet, so let's see. First page actually.
Yes, okay.
One.
Yeah, these would be likely from statute, the overlapping, because
So that's state statute?
yes.
Okay.
I'm fairly sure Tim can confirm that, but as a general licensing protocol, you can't overlap two different licenses in a premises. It's just not allowed in liquor or marijuana, so we would follow statute. Whatever is outlined in statute would apply in Longmont if we opted into marijuana hospitality. We could add additional, we could be more restrictive. So if in statute they allowed an outdoor consumption area, Longmont City Council could say, we will not allow that, we will be more restrictive. So that's why I'm trying to not take you into the regulatory weeds. Couldn't have resist, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm glad I found it because it explains more
Yes.
directly how close it could be with some of these other
Yeah, these are definite,
locations.
there's lots of rules around an outdoor consumption area. That's, I think I said that when I read past that. There's lots of rules around everything. What we need to get is some basics, and then we can hone that in when we come back.
Okay, thanks, Dawn.
Thank you. Good, great questions.
Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I'll go very quickly. Add MH license type, yes. Which of the three or all? The with and without, I'm not a fan of the mobile license. I think that we have not seen a whole lot of problems anecdotally, without seeing the public safety report, as far as our current distance restrictions are concerning dispensaries. So I'd rather see them be consistent across the board as far as the license types and dispensaries are concerned. I don't think additional application criteria are necessary. I'm mixed on the cap. I'd like to see probably a little bit more information on that before I decide one way or another. I lean towards a cap early on, but a cap that would be not overly restrictive. And then fees, I do have a question. What are our current application and licensing fees for our dispensaries?
Our annual renewal fee for dispensaries is $15,000 every year. And their initial application fee was, I want to say $15,000 as well.
So therefore,
It's quite high.
Right. The City and County of Denver's application and licensing fee are much more accessible to a potential small business owner than a dispensary.
I agree.
So I would be amenable to being consistent with the City and County of Denver's fees.
I agree with that. Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I'm not sure what, Don, you would really like to hear from me, but I have something that I don't think anybody else has mentioned. We talked about zoning. I think we have allowed uses for things like beauty parlors, which seem a lot more, don't we have more allowed uses for that? Like you can have one in a neighborhood? And this seems a lot like that, or at least like an ordinary massage parlor. I don't know what the allowed uses are for that, but where you go to get something for your health, seems much more like that than someplace where you would go to consume liquor or something like that. I mean, this is supposed to be a health-oriented thing, so and I generally favor having harmless businesses have a lot of allowed uses. A lot of allowed uses in zones. So I would like to maybe relax the cap on at least that business model and possibly both, because it's no more dangerous to bring your stash into a parlor and then leave with it than it is to go into a friend's house and then leave with whatever you brought in that you didn't use. So these seem like businesses that could be neighborhood businesses, and there's nothing wrong with that.
All right, may I just clarify what I think I heard you say, Councilmember Martin?
Sure.
that you would be interested in adding marijuana hospitality license types 1 and 2,
Yes.
and probably no additional zoning restrictions.
Yeah, maybe not. I think we should at least look at it and, see how many people come to public invited to be heard with pitchforks. Because I think it's like having a beauty parlor on the block operated out of somebody's house.
And in terms of a cap, Councilmember Martin,
I don't really see any, these are such small businesses that I don't see any reason for a cap, but I think what we're doing is fearing unintended consequences, so I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to a cap if that was what my colleagues on council felt was appropriate, but I don't feel strongly about it.
and just in terms of the fees, were you comfortable with Denver's fees?
Denver's fees are certainly much better than ours. And, maybe even lower, again, go look at mom and pop businesses like beauty parlors, right? What are their licensing fees like?
Very good. I think, Harold, what's your count? But I believe that we have
Well, I think I have
4. Everybody agrees.
4
we
to
need to bring
5,
something back.
something on caps, bringing
Yeah.
it back.
Mhm.
I think we still have, I'm assuming 3 with location concerns, 4 with no location concerns. I think Councilmember McCoy, I'm not sure on your position on that. Location concerns I heard brought up by Councilmember Yarborough in terms of density. Councilmember Christ and Mayor Peck. Is that correct? And so Councilmember McCoy, I'm not sure where you were on the location piece.
I think Councilmember McCoy said was not interested in restrictions.
Okay.
Actually, that was
Okay.
what he said.
Just a moment. So I want to address number 2, though, which Councilor Martin, I'm sorry, was that it? Yeah. Without sales. I'm sorry, Councilor Martin, number 1, is that what you were referring to, the beauty parlor?
That's actually with sales, right? With sales. Like infused oils with THC that you use them on the premises.
I understand, yeah, I understand what it is. My concern, it isn't a problem, is that this license is not only for massage parlors and beauty sales. It is allowing consumption of marijuana within a permanent licensed premises. It could be consumption of marijuana not through massage or something. The license would allow consumption of marijuana on the premises. So would that be, so I guess my concern is, let's don't look at it that this would only be a license for massage parlors. It isn't. Am I correct in that? It could be,
Correct.
yeah. So we're only looking at the people in the audience here. But if we have this license and okay it doesn't mean it's only going to be people who want massage parlors that are going to come in and use it. So,
Wine bar analogy, for example.
I agree, and I was just going to say, Mayor Peck, that was one of the things, wait, don't take that away. One of the things in the council was that Longmont is a very creative, entrepreneurial town. I can't even imagine what people might come up with. So that's why we recommended the table of allowed uses as, use that definition, and I can't imagine what people might think of.
I just didn't want it to go out, over the virtual people that are listening, that this is licenses for massage parlors using cannabis. It is for anything where you can consume cannabis on the premises.
So, Mayor, Tim Hole, Assistant City Attorney. Just one quick clarification. If a license has elected to go down the spa route,
Yeah,
then there are a set of rules under the state license, the state MED, and they wouldn't be able to. They have to kind of pick a lane. Either you're going to do the spa and have a consumption area for the spa that is just the lotions and the spa services, or you're going to have a marijuana hospitality and sales business that is
right.
consumption.
Right. This license is for both.
It
Okay.
wouldn't be kind of both happening in the same.
All right.
Is my understanding, unless the state changes.
Thank you. I didn't mean to make this a huge discussion, but I did, didn't I? So the options, I approve 1 and 2, but not the mobile. Councilor McCoy.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. City Manager Harold, my feelings were that if we had so many restrictions, what I see in map 3 here, that we would have such pocketed areas that we would, I think we would end up with unintended consequences of where this is all located and everything. And so I feel that I hope that helps clarify it.
Yeah, Don clarified it. I missed
I just
that
want to make sure I
piece.
was there. And then just as far as, I want the first two, Don, in regards to license type. I don't think the mobile sales are any good. And then I'm not totally sold on against a cap. I just don't think that maybe we have to figure out what that is. And as far as the price of entry, I think what Denver has is a good starter place. And again, we have no idea if it's going to be massage parlors, that sort of thing. And that's why I used the example of how some people would bring in their liquor, sealed. The waiter or waitress would unseal it, and then if we repackaged it, then that person could come back with that repackaged item if I suppose, but I don't know that does any good. I think they just need to be able to use it at home. I just don't know how popular it's going to be. It could be very popular. Could just be that there's a cultural part of this, that this is a at-home sort of activity for the most part, except for maybe massage parlor sort of situations. It's still up in the air how popular it will be for the overall public to jump into. They might just think, who cares?
So let's move on. If you have everything you need to the social equity.
I do, Mayor Peck and council members. I've got 4 of you, I did a tally, 4 of you saying no on additional distance restrictions. We will include information on the questions that we got from you. Yes on, well, you're kind of split on the cap. There's 3 yeses, 3 could go either way, and 1 no. So we will bring back some options on that, is what I think we should do. And you're all okay, at least 4 of you okay with the fees. So I think we've got our options 1 and 2 to move forward, and we'll move on to social equity. Ooh, thank you. All right, so a social equity program would help us further define who would be eligible for a marijuana license, marijuana business license, if implemented in Longmont. These have been implemented by the state of Colorado and by the city and county of Denver, of course, the Trailblazers. Their goal is to increase diversity in the number of marijuana business owner licenses. So as you mentioned, Mayor, the MED actually is encouraging municipalities to implement a social equity program, and it is because the decades of criminal enforcement of marijuana laws on communities of color. So a social equity program would create equity in who is able to obtain licenses. As you noted, the dispensaries, when those came online, is not a lot of diversity in the ownership of dispensaries, right? So the social equity programs were created by the state, city, and county of Denver followed suit. We have, again, borrowed, why recreate the wheel, and looked at the city and county of Denver's social equity program. What you might do with a social equity program is reserve a certain license type for applicants that qualify as social equity applicants. For example, a marijuana hospitality license. You might reduce or waive fees. You might do both. If you reduce fees, Denver waives the one-time application fee and just collects the annual license fee from social equity applicants. You could mix that up however you wanted to. This would be Longmont's program. If we followed City and County of Denver criteria in terms of who would be a social equity applicant, this is their criteria. You must be a Colorado resident and you meet one of these criteria, reside in an opportunity zone or disproportionate impacted area for 15 years between 1980 and 2010, or the applicant or their immediate family was arrested, convicted, or suffered civil asset forfeiture due to a marijuana offense, or applicant's household income did not exceed 50% of state median income as measured by the number of people who reside in the applicant's household. So either by impact or by income qualify on the second point. And then the third criteria point is that social equity applicants own at least 51% of the license. Where there are multiple owners, that 51% of those would be social equity applicants, so that it's a social equity owned license, if that makes sense. That's how City and County of Denver does that. So really, we're just looking for some guidance. Are you interested in this? When we, a few months ago, attended a meeting with the MED, they were super excited that Longmont was on, and their first question was, Dawn, are you guys going to do a social equity program? So they're interested in it, but the question is, are you all? So to review our questions, would you like to see a social equity program? Would you like us to use the same qualification criteria that I just outlined that Denver uses? How would you like to apply that? Would you like to restrict a license type? Reduce fees, waive fees? How would you like that to look?
Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I think we should do a social equity program. I think that both the income qualification or the impact qualification are good ideas, although I think the impact qualification would be hard to administer. And so maybe we shouldn't take on something like that. And then the other thing is, maybe you can refresh my memory. What do we do about licensing delivery operators for, people who can deliver prescription cannabis to people at home? Didn't we have to do that a few years ago? What do we do about that? Do we have because that is an obvious place for a social equity program. Did we?
We have not had a social equity program, Councilmember Martin.
Mm-hmm.
So if we implemented one, we could certainly add marijuana delivery. We only allow medical marijuana delivery under current code, so it would be a license type to add.
Yeah.
Just to add to that, Tim Hall, Assistant City Attorney, just to add to that, we did bring that question to you. You decided not to license the delivery inside of the city, but to allow delivery by
people licensed. I remember that now. Yes, I remember there was something weird about that, and maybe we should, while we're on this subject, we should allow residents to become licensed medical delivery, because I think that's kind of an important thing, and I know I got a lot of letters of complaint by people who were, I can buy from a dispensary in Denver, but I can't buy from a dispensary in Longmont. What's with that? Because they didn't have the right kind of delivery agreements. So I guess I should suggest that we should reopen that consideration as long as we're on the subject. Yes.
And can make one clarification to an earlier comment about the social equity license.
Yeah.
So the state statute actually lays out what qualifies you to be a social equity applicant. So those criteria are in the state statute themselves. So we wouldn't
Okay.
be recreating the wheel. And the state also will verify those factors when they're licensing.
Well, then it's easier to administer because the state does it for us. Well, that's a good thing. That removes my objection, but I still think that we should do it. The other thing is, well, it's not a quota system, right? But we need to look at the size that our caps should be. These are smaller businesses than dispensaries, and because we could, if our cap is too small, we could lock even one social equity beneficiary out because people got used up all the cap first. So I'm in favor of doing the social equity program, but I think that our cap should maybe proportionate to the expected revenue base of the business. Inversely proportional, right? If it's a really small business, then the cap should be higher. Okay, that's all I got.
Any other comments? I think we should do the social equity program. You did?
You turned it off.
Oh, I didn't see that.
There you go. Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. So I'm for adding a social equity program, generally using the same qualifications as Denver. I would not want to restrict it exclusively, the licenses to those who qualify, but I would waive the application fee like Denver, because I think it's more about the ability to access the market, and I think that is more of the impediment than just exclusively making the licenses available only to those participants.
Councilor Yarbrough.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I agree with Councilor Rodriguez because I was going to ask about that restriction as well. I don't think we should have the restriction. I do agree with definitely need a social equity program for sure. I do agree with waiving the application fee and same with the qualifications. I don't think we should have any restrictions.
Councilor Hidalgo-Ferring.
Thank you. Yes, so I do agree that we should add an equity program, social equity program, and then in looking at what Denver does, I could see aligning, rather than, as you said earlier, recreating the wheel. I think what they've listed is pretty good. I had highlighted that restricting the applicants to social equity, or applicants to social equity applicants only, and I do disagree with that. I feel like if we're becoming exclusive when we only allow for that. So if we have a fair mix, and yes, applicants who do, I think that's even better than looking at reducing all the fees. I still think, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000 is a lot to me, but I guess it's perspective. So using people who do qualify to waive the application fee, I agree with that. Thank you.
Councilor Christ.
Just to clarify, is this the criteria for Denver exactly the same as for the state of Colorado, or does the state have additional qualifications? It might
I can
be,
come back and
yeah.
answer that in a minute.
Okay. I think, yes, we should have a social equity program. So then we'll get back to number 2. And agree that we should have it open, not restricted to social equity applicants, and waive application fees. I'm interested to know, do we have any opportunity for business loans for applicants.
I'm sorry, we're discussing the
Yeah,
statute.
yeah, yeah,
Pardon me.
Is there
Councilmember
any
Quist.
opportunity for business loans for social equity applicants? Or any applicants, actually?
I believe you'll get a comment in public invited here at the end. There's no public invited.
No. It's a study session.
It's just a study session.
You probably need an email on that.
Okay, we get those too.
Okay, I agree. Social equity program, use Denver's qualifications, no restrictions, waive the application fee.
We're on a roll, thank you.
We're
Mayor
learning.
Peck and council members.
Councilor McCoy.
Ditto.
Okay. I think we'll keep going or did you find an answer yet? You can come back if you want.
Couple quick answers. I can tell you that the state statute does suggest that social equity licenses will be eligible for certain incentives through the Department of Revenue. And also, I think Denver might have an additional requirement for social equity licenses that they own their license for longer, till 2027. And so I don't think that's in the state statute. Otherwise, they're the same.
Thank you. We're moving on.
Moving on, are you comfortable? Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. We're in the home stretch. I think this last one will be easier. So festival permits. These are on the liquor side of regulations. So festival permits became a thing in 2023 in the legislative session. These are permits that allow currently licensed liquor licensees to hold a festival and collaborate to make sales at the festival, if that makes sense. So it allows certain liquor licensed businesses to hold a festival and alcohol sales can be made by any participating licensees. So statute defines which license types are eligible to participate. It's quite a good list. And then they would apply to have a festival. They could be up to 72 hours in length, in duration. They could apply for up to 9 festival permits per calendar year and participate in up to 52 festivals per calendar year. So when you think of those numbers, if you do that multiplication, that's a lot of opportunity for festivals and collaborating and selling alcohol. What's different about these is special event permits have long existed in liquor code. They've existed as a fundraising mechanism for nonprofits, but liquor licensed businesses have not been able to take their alcohol or take their ability to sell off the site of their business. This allows them to take their license and go to a festival location and sell there. So it's a new opportunity for liquor licensed businesses. Where could a festival take place? Literally anywhere that's viable. Public or private property, they'd have to demonstrate they have permission and possession to use the property. It'd be part of the application. This again is opt-in, so this already exists in statute. Longmont could opt into this permit type and we would get in on the licensing side of it. So what if we don't opt in? They can still apply for them. They're just going to apply to the state, and in fact, that's what's happening now. There are festival permits currently in Longmont now. If you've been to the Boulder Farmers Market lately, granted it's county property, but it's in Longmont. There are alcohol sales happening at the farmers market, and it's because of a festival permit. So St. Vrain Cidery, for example, has a festival permit to sell at the farmers market. They have to give 30 days notice. They apply to the state, have to give us 30 days notice, and we can object if we think there's a history of violations or that this would create a violation of city code or liquor code. But the state vets those applications, they make the decisions. Ours is a recommendation. So they're collecting the fee, they're handling the application, they're vetting it, and we can chime in if we like. If we opted in, The review of those applications would go to our local licensing authority. We could implement criteria and regulations if we desired. Again, we could be more restrictive if we wanted. We would have the ability to place conditions on a festival permit to ensure public health, safety, and welfare. And the Longmont Police Department would be involved in that application review. So as it is now, they wouldn't be actively involved. How we handle those currently is we would review those and get a sense for, have everybody kind of glance at it real quickly, but there wouldn't be, wouldn't go before the authority for a full vetting, if that makes sense. Our local licensing authority, our municipal judge does not currently decide whether or not those are issued. So we recommended the criteria in keeping with everything else we do in liquor licensing. We use state forms. We try not to create more forms, more paperwork for the sake of paperwork. And we would follow the requirements listed on that form in terms of what they've got to give us with their application. Fees, according to Longmont Municipal Code, are set by the local licensing authority, so we're not asking you if you'd like to set fees. The authority would set fees. And really, we looked at the city of Aurora's criteria because it was pretty straightforward. Is the location suitable? Is the record, reputation, and character of the applicant acceptable? And would the permit not be injurious to the public welfare? Would kind of be the criteria the authority looks at when reviewing the application. So really, our question is, would you like to opt in? If you did, we would bring that back. If you didn't, it would continue to operate under statute, and we'd let that be, and let people continue to, apply through the state. So that's our next question, but much lighter than the past.
Yeah, I think this is an up and down by our council. Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. Just real quick, when, like, say, we have the downtown concert series, there's multiple vendors. Are they operating under a state license at that point, or?
Mayor Peck and Councilmember Rodriguez, liquor is real murky. Let me just say that. But generally, the downtown festival that has various vendors, that's a special event permit pulled by a nonprofit. So one entity making the sale and benefiting financially from the sale. And they're working with all those other vendors as the business operator, if you will.
So it's technically the nonprofit is the person selling, even though there's different vendors.
Right. How they operationally handle the sales is up to them.
Okay. That seems like an interesting loophole. But
So the difference with the festival permit is all the licensees collaborate and they can each sell. They can each vend at the license location.
Okay. Interesting.
It's different, yes.
Either way, we're not gaining anything by allowing the state to operate this. I believe bringing more into our control is in the best interest, as well as also not losing out on said fees, even if that's just purely to recoup administrative costs. I don't know, but
Yes.
so anyway, I'd definitely be for opting in.
Anyone else? Okay, go ahead, Councilor Yarbrough.
Thanks, Mayor Peck. I was just going to say, I believe we should opt in as well. It makes it easier on those nonprofits who put on those festivals and things like that. If someone wants to come in and set up and sell the alcohol, then the nonprofit really doesn't have to worry about that because they have their own people and they have tips regulated, all those things. And so I think it would be better if we opt in.
If I might clarify, Mayor Peck, Councilmember Yarbrough, it really wouldn't impact the nonprofits. That's a totally different permit type that the nonprofits can pull. This is, a festival
Just
permit is
for the-
specific to the licensees, yes. Yeah, different bucket.
That's how left hand got away, because that left hand has a foundation.
Yes.
I've got 3 yeses. I think I heard Councilmember Martin say yes. Councilmember McCoy, Councilmember Christ.
I'm not in favor of putting more work on staff. This is a lot of work. And, but yes, we might as well go for it.
Thank you so much for sticking
Thank
with it
you.
through this regulatory conversation. We will be back with some ordinances.
Thank you for putting up with all of our crazy discussions.
We appreciate it. Thank you all.
All right, now we're at Sandy Cedar 2024 legislative bills.
Okay. Hello, Mayor and Council, Sandy Cedar, Assistant City Manager. This is the last legislative update of the session because it ends next week. So, yeah, exactly. So we have 3 bills for your consideration today. The first one is House Bill 1434, which is concerning an expansion to the affordable housing tax credit. So you may have heard of these before. These are LIHTCs, low income tax credits. And so they're really used extensively in trying to help provide affordable housing. This increases what's going to be available. And since affordable housing is a critical part of the council work plan, staff recommends that you support 1434.
Councilor McCoy.
Do you need a motion? Okay, I move House Bill 2024-1434.
It's been moved by Councilor McCoy, seconded by Councilor Martin to support 1434. Let's vote. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote.
She just got back to her computer, so she's...
Oh, okay.
She just got back in.
Can we do these by voice vote to save you time?
Yeah, good to
All
hand
right.
vote.
All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye. All those opposed? That passes unanimously. On to the next.
Thank you, Mayor. The next bill is House Bill 241449 concerning measures to improve sustainability services to the Department of Public Health and updating the Pollution Prevention Act of 1992. So this bill is trying to enhance the circular economy, particularly around recycling and composting, some of those pieces that I think we all find to be important. You know, I think we've heard a lot about it even just this month, about the importance of that. That does include fees for disposal, it does include some increased fees for trash disposal, but those fees would go towards programming for recycling and trying to assist with the kind of other side of that coin. So because the bill bolsters the city's initiative for zero waste, doesn't adversely impact the current operations, staff recommends that council supports House Bill 241449.
Thank you. Can I have a motion?
I move that we support House Bill 241449.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Hidalgo Faring, seconded by Councilor Christ. All those in favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? That passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mayor. The last one, this is kind of a tough one because this is House Bill 241460 concerning measures to strengthen responses to law enforcement misconduct. So I want to be really clear here. There is nobody in law enforcement that believes that police misconduct is okay. And as far as I know, there's no police department that does not investigate misconduct. In fact, most communities, I would say Longmont was one of the ones on the forefront that also has a resident advisory board that reviews some of these cases as well. What this bill does is it takes it like several steps forward and basically says that not only if a police officer or somebody that is post-certified witnesses misconduct, but if they've heard about it from somebody else, that these things need to be investigated. So my gosh, there's a lot of conversation around that. That's not a substantiated investigation. That's not the kind of stuff that we think those public safety officers need to be held personally liable for, which is what 1460 would do. So, you know, like I said, just to be clear, it's not that we condone any kind of misconduct, but hearsay seems to be not the right place to invest our investigation dollars. So because of that, staff recommends that council opposes House Bill 241460.
Thank you. Councilor McCoy.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. Before being on council, I was on the Police Standards Board, and I just want to stress that now we have police officers with body cameras. We have that in place. We were at the forefront of that. I really think that we have to assume best intent until proven differently, and I don't think hearsay is probably the best way of approaching this. I think maybe this is concerning to maybe smaller districts, not some that have all the funding that we have here. So I will be against it. And so can I make a motion?
Please do.
House Bill 2024-1460, oppose it.
Second. It's been moved by Counselor McCoy and seconded by Counselor Martin to oppose 1460. All those in favor, raise your hand. Aye. All those opposed? Well, we're all opposed. So that passes unanimously.
Thank you so much, Mayor Peck. As I mentioned, the state legislature is set to adjourn sine die on May 8th. So this will be our last legislative update. In about a month or so, Colorado Municipal League usually puts out kind of the municipal laws adopted. I will certainly forward that your way once I see it.
Great, thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Thank you.
We are now at mayor and council comments. Do we have any comments from councilors? Just one?
Just one.
Okay, Counselor Yarbrough.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you for whoever left me that book last Tuesday so I can learn Japanese and not look crazy when I go over to Japan. I don't know who left it, but thank you, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, yes, and let's don't forget Cinco de Mayo this Saturday at Roosevelt Park. City manager remarks?
No comments, Mayor, Council.
Thank you, city attorney.
No comments, Mayor.
Thanks. It's been moved by Counselor McCoy, seconded by Counselor Chris to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? We are adjourned.